some perfumes are unique, clever even. The weave oud notes together turn strangeness into beauty. Some push boundaries. They challenge, they define new genres. They can smell like wet autumn leaves, like body odor with whipped cream on top. And some are just weird. Not because they were born super conceptual or niche. They're just weird. Offbeat. Notes that shouldn't go together. Textures that feel wrong. And yet, as if a singer caught between two keys, off pitch, unsettling, they still deliver something raw, nuanced, something impossible to ignore. They win by nonconformity. They are not run-of-the-mill compliment getters, and yet I own them. Full size, and I wear them. Not as an experiment, but as my scent. Because sometimes a perfume doesn't need to be nice or masterfully composed. Sometimes it just needs to be uniquely tempered. Tonight, we're unlocking the cabinet of oddities and the strangely addictive scents. These are the weird ones that I keep close. What are the weirdest scents that you own? Please share in the comments. Let's open this Pandora box together. This hat I would dress if I was a tarot card reader or some kind of prophecy maker. I want to start with a perfume that kind of got me the idea. And as many of you know, I have the good old tradition of mixing perfumes with basic occlusives or oils and then wear them as body lotion, because that allows me way more tight control over how intense the scent is going to be. It can sometimes change the scent profile, and in my experience with weird scents, with very strong scents, with very powerfully willed scents, this method works beautifully. I'm just showing you, like, I just bought a 30 ml jar. You can use anything that you have at home, or you can buy something pretty like I did. And this is pretty much a spray some perfume here. I put on some occlusive and I use it for a while, and I compare the notes of what I feel like, what I detect on my skin in this formulation versus, the proper eau de parfum. And the one that I keep going back and forth between, okay, this is not for me. I gotta sell this. I gotta find a second home for this. And then fall in love with it all over again. I think I've been through 5 cycles like that. And hence this video is Juliette Has a Gun, Mad Madame. This is, well, let me show you what we're dealing with here. This is a animalic rose shipper, essentially. However, I think this breakdown into genres really doesn't do it justice. And something to keep in mind, let me show you the pyramid. Something to keep in mind, allegedly, Mad Madame, as some of the older perfumes by Juliette Has a Gun have been reformulated. So if you want to find the OGs that are more powerful, a little bit more, have more of a strong character, you probably are better off looking on eBay or Mercari, kind of finding some older bottles secondhand. Mine is truly vintage. I got it probably 3 years after it was released. And I have plenty of rose shippers, all right? And I've tried a gazillion of them. Nothing quite compares to Mad Madame. It is just very eccentric. It has a lot of these semi-synthetic but bright, vivacious moss, patchouli, kind of herbaceous and animalic castoreum notes all weaved in together, and rose only kind of freshens and rounds it up merely. It's really not, to me, a rose-centric scent, though a lot of people specifically buy it as a rose shipper. To that end, I've seen a number of commenters who are saying like, well, Elizabeth and James Nirvana Rose, this like classic, somewhat wine type of a rose. In my book, there are so many clones of like classical Bulgarian rose. I mean, Serge Leton's Phil de Berlin, Un Rose Frederic Malle, even Rose by Molinar, which is fairly affordable. All to me do a fairly good job. Like, maybe I'm not such a connoisseur to really see where the difference lies. This, I haven't even thought of it being a rose shipper when I bought it. It was just sweet, sour, green, mossy. It was just oddly spicy and animalic. It had so much character that I just forgot about any genre naming with it. And I must say, it's a bit annoying. It's a bit... Some people even say it's fecal. I luckily don't get that in my nose. It's just very bizarrely green, deep, animalic type of a add Bulgarian rose oil on top of it. But when I put it in oil or mix it with like a typical simple body cream, it just transforms into the most wonderful kind of Disney fairy tale. These very nuanced, deep, slightly animalic rose. And it's not even rose, it's just a whole world. The most delightfully weird, but not conceptually odd type of perfume. It's rooted in a very humane oddness to me. Like, it's still something that you would wear. It's still something that has a story and can be understood. It's not, complexity for the sake of complexity, or like contemporary art type of a overthought type of a thing. It's very hearty. It has a lot of emotion. It has a kind of a darker fairy tale behind it, and I love it for it. Thank you to Mad Madame for inspiring me yet again. I'm on my 5th cycle of loving it after hating it and like getting ready to dispose of it. I can't part with it. If you really want, I'll leave a link below. You can sample. All of these are very strongly tempered, so a 5 ml decan will go a long way with these if you want to try them. Really odd perfume that I once almost got sold out in Eastern Europe after my review, and yet people who try it often give me like a kind of like a strange glance. It's like, is that really one of your favorites? It's like, yeah. This is 7th Hour, L'Heure de Fin, by Cartier, their haute perfumery line. And this is an oldie. Think dark chocolate and the deepest dungeons in some big old Scottish castle. The patchouli here with some other mossy flavors of oddities are just so unmistakable. It's like Hogwarts. It's like the evening when you're enjoying like a little bit of dark chocolate with coffee, sitting in the library of Hogwarts. It's both cozy and unnerving at the same time because of these very wet, very deep forest, mossy type of feel. It's incredible. 7th Hour by Cartier was my first full-size bottle purchase of a boutique fragrance and my first love from Cartier. It is decisively very unique. And yet, I think every drop of this every drop of this is a magical, it's like magical bits and where to find them. That's, I guess, it's an alternative name for this video. Dark chocolate, castle patchouli. Love it. It's very strong. Most of these, I'll note if they're not too long lasting, but all of these are gonna have quite a trail that they leave. And all of them, try at your own risk, all right? I love them, I wear them, but you've been warned. The next one, it's a classic, but I think it's such a bizarre perfume by modern standards. This is Bleue Eau de Parfum by Guerlain. I have a vintage form, and I recently, thanks to my subscriber, did extensive testing of the newly reformulated Bleue Eau de Parfum in my vintage, and I'm happy to say the new one works just as well. The vintage perfumes tend to kind of miss out on the vibrancy of top notes because those, just due to time, degrade and kind of break down a little bit. But at the same time, the vintage formulations tend to be a little bit deeper, a little bit richer, a little bit heavier and more nuanced in the base. You pick, you choose whatever you want to try. You can try it from my collection as long as I have this bottle. But if you are not a vintage type of perfume lover, the new one is very honorable, respectful rendition of what Bleue used to be. It doesn't necessarily need any advertisements from me, however, just to give you a bit of a glimpse into what we have here. The original composition is incredibly complex, and the descriptions, the marketing descriptions of it doesn't really make it any easier to understand. However, a lot of people call it a powdery, dusty floral. I would say floral shipper. In my book, it still is reminiscent of a classical shipper category, just minus the sourness. If you replace sourness with more of a kind of dusty, powdery, herbaceous florals, think carnation here, I think it's a good example. It's incredibly well-mannered. It does have that old school vintage feel, but do not worry, this video is not about like old school perfumes only. There are going to be a lot of different flavors of weird here. However, this is one weird. It's kind of, to me, is this neo-Victorian type of a perfume. It still translates into the modern world because a good book, like a good classic novel, never goes out of style. It always manages to hit at least one facet of something that is very now and very carnal to how we feel in the world, especially, there's no denying we live in weird times. Great change is upon us, and it's not all good. And sometimes this type of cultural escapism that we do to see nature, to see old architecture, to read a classic novel, sometimes even to hold an old book or something that was made many years ago, if not centuries ago, just to touch something that has been made decades, if not centuries ago, be it like an old stone or a wooden table or just, a 40, 50-year-old book, a well-made hardcover type of a book. It just anchors us a little bit, stabilizes and connects us to the ancestry of human spirit. So in that sense, I think old is new. If you feel overwhelmed, if you feel that you're lost in this new world, Bleue, try it. It's almost an instant connection to our ancestry. In the times of change, sometimes a little bit of old-fashioned manners can go a long way, I think. And Bleue is our best help as a reminder to conduct ourselves with honor. just to break this legacy type of fairy tale storytelling, here is a kind of a curveball. Jasmine cigarettes. I've showed it in many of my videos, but not often enough, because this really deserves to be one of the 21st century classics. I am certain, god damn it, that Jasmine cigarettes is the spirit of, I would say, 70s all the way to the 90s. Even though originally it was marketed as a tribute to Marlene Dietrich, which is a much earlier 40s type of era, but to me, it really translated into the kind of Gen X type of experience growing up. Ask me how I know. Because compared to the modern challenges of over-sheltering and oversensitivity of the kids, as they're very connected to the through the internet to kind of this anonymous, massive, overwhelming, swirling monster of information and opinions and people and predators. When I was growing up as Gen X, we were fucking feral. They were, I kid you not, there were advertisements on TV that reminded our parents that after 10 p.m. you should maybe ask yourself where your kids are. And it was true. You would like go to school, you do your own homework, all right? You take care of your food, you take care of your free time. It's pretty much do whatever you need to do to survive and entertain yourself. And Jasmine cigarettes is a testament to these conflicting, rough, naive era of growing up in the 90s. It's cigarette buds, light ethereal jasmine, plus a little bit of kind of a metallic edge piercing through it. By modern standards, that would be considered offensive, but it was a legit terminology used by fashion industry. It was called heroin chic, and what it meant, this androgynous, very minimalistic yet rebelliously excessive of accessories of self-expression that was both moody, austere, also often was associated with not eating very well, being fairly slim, almost unhealthy type of thinness. But way beyond the body shape, it was just about being so over it, like so over it, like jaded to the core at the ripe age of 13. That's the kind of thing that we're talking about. Piercings in odd places, like style without a style, and then the grunge was quite kind of fitting into that whole thing. So Jasmine cigarettes, that's 90s, that's grunge, that's cigarette buds, jasmine, blades, all of that kind of stuff. It's odd, all right? Not many people want to smell like cigarette buds plus jasmine, but to be honest, that's how 90s smelled, that's how growing up smelled for a lot of girls. Rightly or wrongly, it's definitely the weirdest testament to that cultural era. Just so you can see the pyramid. Not sure if it's going to help you. I think jasmine, metal, and cigarette buds probably is the best description in my view, but here it is. It is so cool. It is so weird. The next weirdo was a designer release that was very quickly discontinued because it was so incredibly niche that I almost got myself 2 bottles, but then I kind of was like, all right, this is very, very unique, very strongly willed perfume. 1 bottle should be enough for you to last a lifetime. And this is Donna Karan Gold. You can still find it in certain places here and there. And certainly, if you can't succeed, you can find it in the link down below to get yourself a decant and experience the most vivacious, rotting zombie lily. As you can see, white lily, patchouli, Nothing really promises a zombie apocalypse, but it's there, neatly bottled. The only another one that came close was Les Fume by Tom Ford, now discontinued their boutique line. And yet, Tom Ford, even back then, was like $200 or so. This, I think I got it when it was on sale for like $20. Because it was really not popular. Really not. And I understand why. It's just very... Think like neon green. It's like... nature after the nuclear war. It's like glowing in the dark, piercing, slightly rotting type of white lily scent. But it's not too spicy and it's not too sweet. It's just, if you're a big fan of green offensive shippers, such as Sisley shippers, for example, this might interest you. I love this. Every time when I feel ready to just take on the world and I don't want to be bothered, generous 5 sprays of Donna Karan Gold do the trick. Next one is a true rarity, and I think there's only one place to try it. My stash. This is Histoire de Parfums, and they make some of the most delightfully weird perfumes I've ever tried. OLYMPIA Music Hall, now discontinued, a precious finding from prior years. Let me show you what we're dealing with here. It is, if I want to minimize the damage or sort of minimize the weirdness of it, it is kind of a dusty, slightly sebum-y, powdery type of fragrance. However, it is much weirder than that. And I immediately got the reference the moment I smelled it, because it smelled like old, heavy, dusty velvet curtains that you can find in really old, nearly like a century old show theaters or music halls. And it is dedicated, this is kind of the legend of OLYMPIA, a famous as other mythical Parisian show theaters. A palpable, iconic performance include the Black Gazelle, Josephine Baker, the Sparrow, Edith Piaf, and gloriously androgynous Dalida, as well as Gilbert Bicot, and yada, and etc., etc. To capture the glamour and the history wasn't easy. I think they did a spectacular job. If you ever have been into old, lavishly decorated performance halls, the seats, the curtains, the kind of the old wood dusty smell, it's exactly like that. It's a very theater bohemian type of a scent. I love wearing it when I just get myself covered in layers and 3 scarves, 5 sweaters, big fluffy socks, and I just walk around with my nearly destroyed notebook, like I'm writing a book. It's gonna be a memoir. Do not disturb. That's the feel. Love OLYMPIA Music Hall. Incredibly good and yet soft skin-like scent. It has some kind of a lingering, demure feel to it, and yet it's so weird. It is weird. This was a blind buy, and I don't think I would ever have purchased this fragrance if I first smelled it, but I'm oddly glad that I did buy it. This is Incense ROI by Histoire de Parfums, the second one of the same brand that made the weird top of the top collection. It's not just incense. Oh, no. It's a very animalic, multi-layered, like every aspect of various kind of incenses is represented here. A lighter Catholic incense, a deeper and richer kind of East Orthodox type of incense that is way more resinous and way darker. And also, it is very sensual. If ever the conspiracy theorists around the globe discovered a secret orgy chamber of Vatican located somewhere in the far, far east, that's what that would smell like. The smell of a sacrilegious affair. It is strong, it is powerful, it is unforgettable and unescapable. But it's probably the kind of incense that will absolutely determine how your day goes. And and sometimes I would rather because sometimes I just don't like what's happening in my life. I don't like the day's agenda. And I don't know if you've ever been in that situation. I secretly wish that just something would happen to change the course of these events. I just don't want them to go exactly as I know they will. And kind of throwing this mercenary of an incense into the equation, oddly enough, can somehow change the way I feel on, because you can't escape this. This is an absolute powerhouse. It just forces me to think differently, act differently, walk differently. And therefore, it just forces you, the whole world changes just because it's here now and it's not leaving. It brings this demanding attention with, since incense I associated with more of a kind of high philosophy, divinity, tough moral questions, maybe even kind of the war of good and evil, if you wish. This really elevates, it raises the bar, it elevates the expectation of myself, of how I am in the world. Sounds weird? And yes, it is. It's my secret weapon. I haven't used much, you think, right? But oh man, every spray opens a portal to a completely different way of being. It so happens that Etat Libre d'Orange is going to make its second appearance here. And no surprise, they do make some of the most weirdest scents on earth. But out of all the things that I could have brought here, this is truly things that are important to me. They are not just, oh, this is weird, and therefore. No, these are the scents that I wear, that I bought with my own money, full-size bottles, and I do wear them on occasion. This one, I have on my third sample, because this is so powerful. Eventually, I will get a full-size bottle, but this is so powerful that even that is a lot to go through. This is Rien, translates as nothing, by Etat Libre d'Orange. And Rien is kind of a perfume that was made from ingredients that are usually considered a waste in perfume industry, and to wrap up the most unfavorable, the least liked perfume ingredients, and to make them into a perfume that is still wearable and has a commanding presence, and yet kind of joke on joke, is called Nothing. It was kind of designed to be this whole contemporary art piece that you wear on yourself, and when people ask, like, oh my God, what are you wearing? Nothing. Silly, but that was the idea. It has these powerful kind of industrial feel to it, but it's very thickly wrapped, in my experience, what I associate, in this sweet, stone-like heliotrope with almonds. So it has the kind of sweetness underneath the industrial type of accord that I would associate with heliotrope or almond accords. I wouldn't call this creamy by any stretch of imagination, but given how powerfully projective it is in diffusive, it is to me very round, very well rounded. But it's like a massive steel ball that is just falling on you, full force. Bizarre. But the almondy sweetness underneath gives it kind of a hook in my experience. I never wear it close to my nose. Most of these I usually wear on the wrists or on like some elements of clothing so I can catch whiffs and don't get overwhelmed or nose blind, because these perfumes have a lot to say. Rien, I continue to kind of come hate-love type of cycles with it, but every once in a while I get in one of those moods of just cozy nihilism that Rien supports to perfection. It's more of an outdoorsy type of perfume for me, and it also has an interesting kind of chameleon type of behavior depending on the temperature and how, if it's rainy or if it's cold or if it's hot. It does change a little bit considering how well positioned and definite it is. The fact that it can change in the cold, rainy weather is always a pleasant surprise to me. I can show you the pyramid, but it doesn't seem to me as descriptive as it could have been. Every single note in separation doesn't really, in my book, explain this effect of staring into a chasm and not being able to avert your gaze. That is the experience of Rien. Let's see. Yeah, that's what they put in the pyramid. To me, maybe it's iris plus black pepper and rose, but I feel this, again, well-rounded, sweet, almondy, heliotrope kind of feel. I dare say it's a very perverted gourmand. I did say it, yes. To me it is. But the disturbance, the kind of these sharp nihilism that it kind of yells at you, I think is this kind of aldehydic, smoky, leathery combination of things that altogether it just feels like falling into a chasm. And another gem, Bracken Woman by Amouage, discontinued. And if you open any discussion or forum on Bracken, you will see a lot of opinions that, well, and good. Discontinued, I understand why. Whew. For the longest time, I thought it was similar to Rien, but they're not really similar. It's just they're both incredibly potent. Let me show you what we have here. Again, with Amouage, they are classical pyramids. The marketing descriptions usually have like 30 ingredients, so it doesn't really help you understand what it smells like. I would say this is the most powerhouse, nutty, green fougere. Like the genre is aromatic fougere, but don't think colognes or male colognes. No. It has a very thick salad of sweet, mossy, some people even say mildew. These notes that are, I guess yellow floral is not a bad allusion, because the sweetness here is not creamy, it's not rosy, it's not souffle. It's like a chamomile jam, if you can imagine that. And it has chamomile, it has wild berries, fern. Fern doesn't smell like anything, but olfactory fern makes the definition of fougere genre in the perfumery. This is probably the most fougere of them all in my book, and I do have Fougere Royale by Ubigan yet. Bracken is, to me, is so tightly and focusedly and condensedly weaving all these notes in such a, it's almost like they are melting into each other under pressure, into these honey-like sticky resinous structure that once it's in your nose, it's impossible to like get it off somehow. And in its density and intensity, all of these, like, again, imagine a jam that's made of chamomiles with sweet pollen and yellow florals and vetiver and birch and nuts. To me, it gets almost salty nutty because it's that intense. Sometimes resins can smell salty, or smoky accords can smell so salty, smoky, almost like a salami, if you wish. In certain compositions, I don't get a salami note here, but I certainly get this very odd, overpowering, green, sweet, aromatic fougere type of a story with nuts. Sometimes vetiver oil can smell nutty. Incredibly rare composition, and probably for a good reason, yet little by little I am working through my decant, and since it's discontinued and not exceedingly popular, it is on my saved search list on Mercari, and I look here and there searching for my lucky break when somebody puts it on huge discount secondhand. Bracken is a rule breaker, no doubt, and also truly unisex. If you are looking into a more complex, vivacious fougere as a guy, look at Bracken. Forget it's marketed toward women. It's just such a, it's such a journey. And the last one that will finish this collection of truly weird perfumes that I love to wear is this beauty. Just the bottles alone. Majda Bikali deserves our endless praise for the way they decided to bottle their perfumes. This is just so cool. Incredible, just incredibly beautiful. I'm honored to have one bottle, and this is, I hope I'm saying it right, Ziryab. And this is floral oud. Not just floral oud. It features black tulip, if that's a thing, and oud. Not only that, Ziryab is devoted to a ancient polymath. I think he was into music and astronomy, and is just very prolific cultural figure. And the perfume is supposed to have 5 stages, starting from almost oceany or kind of watery floral tulip accord, transitioning deeper with the oud, woody accord at the base. I do feel both quite believable watery, kind of stale water type of tulip and these stern woody accord that's called oud here. I do feel both. I love wearing it. It's somewhat addictive, and it's probably one of the fragrances that could please people who like mimosa and kind of sharper, greener, scratchier floral type of perfumes. But it's definitely not for everyone. And the color of the liquid and the packaging, everything about this is magical. It's pure magic, and it's weird, and it changes. It takes you on a journey. Let's see what kind of notes the marketing team came up with. Fairly simple. Tulip, oud, saffron, cedar, and amber. And as simple and as believable this pyramid is to my nose, the fragrance itself is nothing but simple. It has character, it has charisma. It's fairly demanding, but luckily for me, because I can't really wear medicinal ouds or like truly Arabic ouds, this is the kind of oud that any Westerner can wear confidently. And yet unapologetically moody type of fragrance. Love it. Love it. Bought it blindly because I just couldn't pass on the bottle. I was that silly. And I will never ever part with it. It's phenomenal. And weird. Alright, and this is where we are. Now, as I finished confessing to you just how deeply, unsettlingly weird I am with my tastes, nobody from now on can blame me for only showing souffle-like, lightly weaved colognes and waters on my channel, alright? I have my dark corners. I've shared some of the oddities from my cabinet of whimsical olfactory creations, and now I can't wait to hear about yours. What are the weirdest perfumes that might not be appreciated even by your closest circle, that you cherish, that you wear, that you have no intention parting with? Let's share in the comments down below. Let's discuss and trade our little secrets when it comes to going off the rails in certain departments. And again, I don't want to make it about something shocking for the shocking's sake. It is this juxtaposition of odd, unusual, non-pleasing, and yet fitting like a glove for a certain type of mood or a certain type of occasion. That's the magic here, right? About weird fragrances is not that they are off-putting. It's very easy actually to compose an off-putting scent profile, but where the magic of perfumery lies, and how do you make something so evocative of a complex concept or so deeply entertaining at the very least by how all those oddities are composed and weaved together into a composition. Can't wait to see your comments. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you want to send me a blind challenge and to share some samples of yours, all the info is down below in the description of this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.